Hello everyone, Barcelona family. Don't hesitate to like and subscribe to the channel to know everything about Barcelona. In this video, we have 3 pieces of news concerning our beloved club. Let's start with the first. Barcelona continues to work intelligently and with a vision for the future in the current transfer market, and one of the names that has strongly emerged on the club's agenda is Nick Woltemade. The young German forward has been one of the great revelations of the season in the Bundesliga and has attracted the interest of several major clubs on the continent, including, of course, Barcelona. But what has made the difference is something that cannot be bought with money: the player's own desire to wear the Blaugrana colors. In a context where the club is betting on strengthening its squad with young, committed talents who have room for growth, Nick Woltemade's profile fits perfectly with the plans of the new technical staff led by Hansi Flick. The German coach, who has first-hand knowledge of his compatriots' development in German football, has given the green light to pursue a player who, at 23 years old, stands out not only for his physicality and power but also for his tactical intelligence, associative ability, and maturity in the final third of the field. The Blaugrana sports management, with Deco at the helm, has received very positive reports on the Stuttgart forward. His performance in the last campaign has been remarkable, establishing himself as an offensive reference who not only lives for goals but also actively participates in the development of the game. Furthermore, his standout performance at the Under-21 Euros, where he was the top scorer and named the best player of the tournament, has definitively put him in the spotlight of all the major clubs. However, according to sources close to the player's entourage, Woltemade has clearly expressed his preference to play at Camp Nou. This willingness to join Barcelona has been crucial for the Catalan club to start seriously evaluating the operation. It is not about a bidding war or a race to see who puts the most money on the table. At Can Barça, there is a clear roadmap: consistent, sustainable signings that align with an idea of football. In this sense, Woltemade represents a logical signing from a sporting perspective, with projection and tactical relevance. His size, mobility, ability to play both as a reference and starting from the second line, and his commitment off the ball make him an attractive profile for Hansi Flick, who wants to build a recognizable, balanced, and aggressive team in pressing. Stuttgart, for its part, has made it clear that it does not intend to let its young star go without an offer corresponding to the value he has acquired in recent months. There is no automatic release clause, so any operation would go directly through negotiations between the clubs. Nevertheless, within Barcelona's circles, it is believed that if the player maintains his firm stance of wanting to come to Barcelona, the German club could be forced to sit at the negotiating table. In this type of operation, the players will always play a determining role, and even more so if the footballer sees in the Blaugrana project a unique opportunity to grow and compete at the highest level. From the club's economic department, the operation is being studied with caution. It is known that this is not an urgent signing nor an absolute priority, but an opportunity that could materialize at a reasonable cost and without mortgaging the overall budget. Flick, Deco, and the technical secretariat agree that the signing should not be done at any price. There is no urgency or intention to enter a bidding war with English clubs or other European giants. The idea is clear: if Stuttgart accepts viable conditions, Barcelona will move forward; otherwise, they will turn the page without drama. It is important to highlight that the arrival of Woltemade would not mean immediate pressure on the player. At Barcelona, it is understood that young players need time and space to adapt. It is not about demanding 20 goals in his first season, but about allowing him to grow in a competitive environment, to develop in a demanding style, and to contribute through his versatility in attack. In the offices, his mentality is also appreciated. Nick has shown personality, leadership, and commitment in his previous teams, and his performance with the German Under-21 team is further proof of his competitive character. Furthermore, the operation also responds to a sporting strategy of the club, to strengthen the offensive lineup with profiles different from those already existing in the squad. Woltemade offers a more physical type of play, capable of occupying central defenders, shielding the ball, and opening spaces for his teammates. His play with his back to goal, added to his mobility in the box and his reading of the game, can be a very valuable resource in matches where a different type of solution in attack is required. Of course, not everyone in the club's entourage sees this operation as a priority. Some sectors think that the investment should focus exclusively on experienced footballers with a track record in European competitions. However, more and more voices within the club's technical structure argue that this type of bet, if made with caution and without economic imbalances, can be the way to rebuild a competitive team in the medium term. And the examples of recent years of players who arrived as promises and ended up becoming important assets reinforce this vision. In this sense, the case of Voltmade is paradigmatic. A player who not only has projection but is already a reality in the German championship and who, moreover, has the ambition to make the leap to a historic club like Barcelona. This mix of youth, maturity, hunger, and willingness to learn makes him a very interesting option to strengthen the squad. If the operation materializes, Barcelona would give a new silent show of authority, overtaking other giants who are also following the player and demonstrating that it remains a desired destination for the most promising young talents on the continent. Because beyond titles or media signings, what truly shapes a great team is the patient, intelligent, and coherent construction of its backbone. The Barcelona supporters now have the floor. What do you think of this possible incorporation? Would you bet on a young talent like Nick Voltmade with projection and commitment, or do you prefer that the club bets on more experienced reinforcements? Do you think he can be a key piece in Flick's new project? What is clear is that Barcelona is moving and doing so with the intention of building the future, because if something has taught us in recent years, it is that when you plan well, the fruits eventually arrive, and perhaps Voltmade will be one of them. The second piece of news concerns an important decision in our beloved club. Barcelona continues its meticulous sports planning for the new season, adjusting each decision with the surgical precision required by such a decisive stage in the recent history of our beloved club. And while the transfer market always presents a plethora of interesting opportunities and names that spark curiosity, not all of them align, by any means, with the current philosophy and specific needs of our team. In recent hours, it has been revealed to public opinion that the young and promising defender Christian Mosquera has been offered to our club, a move that, as expected, has generated some commotion in the corridors of the sports management, but which for now has not gone beyond a simple protocolarly offer. The response from our club's offices has been clear, concise, and unambiguous. It is not a priority at the moment. The young central defender, who has experienced a significant season of consolidation at Valencia, has attracted the interest of several renowned European clubs, notably the English club Arsenal. The London entity, led by strategist Mikel Arteta, has expressed its firm decision to incorporate young and promising talent into its defensive line and considers that Mosquera perfectly fits the profile of its medium and long-term project. In contrast, in our home at Can Barça, we do not share the same urgencies and do not consider his recruitment as an indispensable or necessary operation in the short term. Beyond his undeniable future projection, in the highest spheres of our club, it is unanimously considered that this is not the type of reinforcement that currently fits the ambitious project we want to build under the direction of Hansi Flick. According to what has been revealed by Catalan media with access to the club's internal information, the name of Christian Mosquera was put on the table during a recent protocolary conversation between representatives of the player and members of the sports management of our entity. However, the response from our club has been, as usual, cautious, measured, and above all, strategic. Joan Laporta and Deco, key figures in making sports decisions, have a very clear idea of the player profile they are looking for to strengthen the defense, and although Mosquera possesses undeniable potential and considerable room for improvement, he is not considered a differential footballer for the present, nor even a priority on the list of objectives. At such a crucial moment as the present, where our club needs to consolidate its most vulnerable positions with proven talent, specific experience, and immediate performance capability, going for a central defender of only 19 years old, still to be polished in many aspects and with limited international experience in high competition, does not seem to be the best strategic decision nor the most sensible. The player's entourage, fully aware of the current complex context at Valencia, where they have not yet been able to renew his contract, which generates uncertainty about his long-term future, has seen in our club a prestigious opportunity to accelerate his departure and perhaps improve his contractual conditions. Nevertheless, the lack of agreement between the club and Mosquera on his contractual future has been quickly exploited by Arsenal, which seems to have a much clearer role for him in its squad and is ready to make a firm bet. At this stage, from the county city, the situation is being followed with observant attention, but without any commitment or the slightest intention of interfering in the struggle that is developing between Valencia and the English club. It is true that our club has historically been open to making bets on emerging young talents, and that names with Mosquera's profile could have fit in the past with a policy of low-cost reinforcements with a wide margin for growth and revaluation. However, at this crucial stage in our recent history, marked by the pressing need to obtain immediate performances and guarantee defensive stability that we have lacked in decisive moments, the technical secretariat has opted to take sure and well-calculated steps. Each possible incorporation is meticulously studied from the angle of real and tangible impact on the current squad, and not from speculation or the simple hope of a promising future that may take time to arrive. And in this context of pragmatism and demand, the figure of Mosquera, with all his potential, simply does not add enough to what is required right now. From within the club, there are also voices questioning the way the young defender's name was presented to the sports management and in the media. The offer, rather than a planned and designed operation from the sports management of our club, seems to have been initiated by the footballer's entourage itself, seeking to strategically position him in the market and perhaps increase his value in view of a possible frustrated renewal or an advantageous departure from Mestalla. In this sense, our club remains firmly away from external strategies or maneuvers by third parties, always prioritizing institutional interest above the individual urgencies of players or the agendas of external agents. Furthermore, sources close to Hansi Flick assure that the German coach has his own well-defined preferences for strengthening the defensive line. The coach considers that there are other more urgent positions to cover in the defense and that the player profiles he evaluates respond to other types of technical, physical, and above all, proven experience requirements in the elite. Although Mosquera's quality and future potential are appreciated, Flick has not explicitly requested him as a reinforcement nor considers him an indispensable piece in the structure he wants to implement in his first year as coach of our club. The priority is to consolidate a solid base with footballers who guarantee immediate performance and quick adaptation to a system of high pressure and control play. Of course, our club is not in a position to carry out operations on a whim or by simple inertia. Every euro invested counts, and every decision made has considerable weight that can condition the short and medium term of the institution. This is why going for a player like Mosquera, who has not yet sufficiently demonstrated to justify a significant investment and whose arrival does not solve any immediate urgency in the squad, would be a questionable decision, to say the least, from a strategic point of view. Now, dear Kules, I want to hear your voice, your opinion. Do you think that Barcelona should go for Christian Mosquera and bet on his development within the squad despite the current priorities? Or do you think, like the sports management, that this is not the time for this type of recruitment and that there are other more pressing needs to cover in defense? Or, on the contrary, do you think that this is actually another maneuver by the player's entourage to put pressure on Valencia or gain visibility on the European scene? Attention, Barcelona family, what's brewing in the offices of our club isn't just the usual season planning. It's a real game of chess where every move has the potential to change the game. And in this high-stakes match, our president, Joan Laporta, could be on the verge of delivering a masterstroke that would leave Florentino Perez and his team in checkmate. While in Madrid, they were rubbing their hands with the imminent arrival of a young talent for their defense, a promising fullback they considered practically secured. The cunning and forward thinking of our sports management sprang into action. We could be on the brink of a signing that would not only strengthen our squad, but also signify a hard blow to the eternal rival. The news that has monopolized the Madrid media in recent hours indicated that Real Madrid had practically secured their next future reinforcement, a young fullback named Alvaro Carreras. Information from their sports programs, with categorical statements from close journalists, claimed that the agreement with Benfica was already well advanced, on the verge of being officialized. According to them, the understanding between the clubs had been reached after several weeks of tense negotiations during which the Lisbon entity had been reluctant to facilitate the operation, a narrative of overcoming and white success, a prefabricated story for the consumption of their supporters, which, as we will see, could collapse loudly. But here's what's interesting, Kules. While they were celebrating in private what they believed to be a victory with virtual toasts and anticipated headlines, our club, with the discretion that characterizes it in these strategic operations and with the cunning of a predator in ambush, may have moved its masterpieces in the shadows. Because the history of football, and even more so that of our club, has taught us that nothing is truly closed until there is an official statement and the player is not wearing our colors posing with the crest we love so much. And in this scenario, the ability to react, the negotiating agility of our sports management, and the tactical vision of our technical staff, with a green light from Hansi Flick, can be decisive in changing the course of this promising defender and bringing him to where his true home should be, the place where his talent will flourish. The payment formula and the unexpected turnaround, our negotiating strength deploys its magic. Madrid sources explained in great detail that the main obstacle in the negotiation between Real Madrid and Benfica was the payment formula. The Whites proposed to pay the transfer in comfortable installments, spreading out the payment as they often do with their major signings, while the Portuguese, aware of their economic needs, demanded all the money up front. In the end, the version circulating in the capital was that the White Club had managed to impose its proposal, something that, according to them, could translate into a future counterpart, leaving the door open for future friendly negotiations between the two entities, a narrative seeking to justify an apparent superiority in the negotiation, an attempt to whitewash a situation that could soon turn against them. However, This is where our club comes into play and does so with overwhelming force that can ruin all their plans. The economic flexibility, the unmatched ingenuity of our leaders to find innovative solutions, and above all, the unparalleled ability to offer an infinitely more attractive sports project for a fullback with the projection and profile of Álvaro Carreras are our most powerful assets. And if our club, with the skill that characterizes it in these high-tension situations, has offered a payment formula that not only fully satisfies Benfica's requirements but even exceeds them, overtaking the moves that Florentino believed he had under control, the urgency of Benfica to cash in money, mentioned by the Madrid media themselves, is not an anecdote, but a strategic vulnerability that our club knows how to exploit to its advantage, turning an obstacle into an opportunity. It is not trivial, Kules, that our actions, when they are truly important and decisive, are done with a secrecy that exasperates our adversaries, forcing them to speculate while we act. Imagine for a moment the excitement that would overwhelm us, the real possibility that our president, Joan Laporta, with his shark instinct in the market, has detected this weakness in the Madrid setup and launched a silent but forceful offensive. Cash money and an offer that not only would guarantee Benfica the economic stability it desperately seeks but would also offer it an opportunity to revalue the player in an elite showcase. This would not only place us in a position of unattainable advantage for them but would leave Florentino with water in his mouth, showing the world that in modern football, cunning, the ability to react, and strategic vision are as important, if not more, than mere brute economic power and an unlimited checkbook. It would be a true checkmate at the right moment and with the offer that truly suits the selling club and, above all, the player himself. The Spanish fullback, who played at Manchester United before his arrival in Lisbon, was linked to a 5-season contract in Madrid and a considerable salary, an apparently irrefutable offer. Despite the official silence that, according to them, preceded the confirmation, everything indicated that his incorporation would be made public once Benfica had finished its participation in the Club World Cup, a scenario they had already imagined in their minds. Carreras, who had already expressed in private his desire to join Santiago Bernabéu, had even significantly lowered his performance in the last matches, an attitude they justified with the excuse that the player was aware that an injury could endanger his long-awaited transfer. A product of their youth academy on the verge of fulfilling his dream of wearing the white jersey, everything indicated that very soon he would become a new Real Madrid player. But this is where our club comes into play with overwhelming force and unmatched appeal, the vision of Hansi Flick, and the unparalleled project he is building in our home. Flick, with his offensive playing philosophy, deep fullbacks, and players capable of joining the attack and defending with constant and disciplined aggression, is the ideal coach, the perfect mentor for a profile like that of Álvaro Carreras. The possibility of developing in a system that maximizes his innate qualities, in a team that aspires not only to regain its hegemony in Europe but also to establish a new era of domination, and with a coach who is an undisputed global reference in the elite, is a compelling argument that goes far beyond the mere economic aspect.